What's going on, guys? This is MJ from Dynamic Render Labs, and this is the 4th chapter of my D5 Reality course, which is about camera tracking and render matching in D5 Render. In this video, we learn how to match our video output from D5 Render to our drone footage in After Effects. If you don't know After Effects, don't worry. I'll try to explain everything. If you want to know more about this course, please watch the introduction in the playlist. And if you learn anything new from this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get it started. Matching render to videos is straightforward. It may need back and forth going, but it's not very complicated. So let's hope for the best and start. First, we should import our materials, meaning the render and the mask. I double-click in the project area, import to render. Then we do it for mask sequence. I go to render folder, go to sky mask, and choose the first one and check PNG sequence here. You may want to remove the beauty channel because it's surprisingly...
Oh my, so heavy!
We can use the first composition we use for our video or press Ctrl D to duplicate it. This way we can safely remove all the camera and nose without worrying about it. One more thing we want to do is reduce the quality of playback here. Right now it's maybe full, but you want to reduce it to something like quarter. Especially if you're going for 4K, you can use half if you're 1080p, or even choose custom to go less for faster playbacks. The larger the number, the faster it loads. But don't expect anything special. After Effects is just as slow in preview, no matter the hardware you use. And you have to be patient. That's just it. Usually you just have to wait a few seconds and you see it starts catching for a smooth playback. Notice how it starts around time indicator. Now, next you want to drag and import your render and mask sequence into the composition. First, we should assign the mask to our video. For that, we should go inside track matte and choose the mask. If you don't see the track matte here, go to toggle switches and modes here. Now select track matte and choose our mask layer. Also make sure it's Luma. Now I can see how my blending works for the first time. I press play. And as you can see, it's not bad at all. Everything seems okay. Some flickers here, but they're here because of low playback quality. If you increase the playback quality or render, it will be solved. The only problem is just this tree. What's wrong with it? The top part appears after a few seconds. I guess I have to replace this tree and similar ones in D5. I should probably report this issue to D5 too. So all I need to do is to render again. That's lucky. But what if you were unlucky? Now there are a couple of issues you may face. Bad issues. The videos are not matching at all in large scale. For example, the building is literally moving through the animation. Now in this situation, two things can be happening. The first one, you don't actually have to panic. It's easy, solvable. But the second one...
Panic. Sheer bloody panic, sir.
Let's go over the first case first. In this video, for example, the house is literally moving. It scared the living crap out of me, but it was solvable. What I did was literally moving the video based on some locations. Let's try it. First, I moved my main video up the list. You can do this to your render as well, but to be fair, if you want to move your render, you have to move the mask too, and then you may want to render again. What, do you want to move them too now?
And all this suffering for him.
The priority is a render now, not the drone footage. First, I click on the arrow here, go to transform and reduce opacity. Then move the source so my model would be at the right place. But as we move the time indicator, it changes. So I move the time indicator to the beginning click on this stopwatch next to the position to create keyframes. Then I go to the end of video and move the render to the right place, which will automatically add keyframe. Now for reference, you can choose something that makes sense. For example, this middle wing should match again, or go for something more accurate. For example, take a look at this line here. It's next to this orange thingy. If I move the time indicator to the end, it should still be next to this orange thingy. Now, if I press play, the house won't move. Kinda, but good enough. If it needs more than 2 keyframes, I believe the issue is deeper. So I change the opacity of the source and send it back again. As you can see, there are some black areas here because we have moved the image. To avoid that, you can activate region of interest here and adjust it so it would leave no black area.
Make sure to do it at the end of video as it has the most amount of black areas.
Don't mind aspect ratio now. We can always create a new comp with the right aspect ratio and put this comp inside it. After you're done with the region of interest, go to the composition and crop comp to the region of interest. But what if we put keyframes and our model still sometimes moved and sometimes didn't? Which means it's not solvable, sadly.
You're gonna cry, cry, cry.
The general rule of thumb is you have to go back in your steps. It has happened to me a couple of times. I did some steps I did before, like placing time indicator to frame 0 at max, updating the scene here, and then updating the video, and it worked. And one time I kinda had to go back to camera matching inside 3ds Max and try to match it better. You may even have to go back and retrack camera and start from beginning. Low quality videos may cause bad tracking. You can even camera track using different software like Synthai as well, but hopefully it won't come to that. These are the worst case scenarios I'm talking about. Now, there may be some minor problems like the coverage issue. For example, let me show the problem I had in former trying. See, not only these trees here are covering too much, they are not covering enough in this area. And we can see some trees are moving beneath them. How can you fix them? Well, go D5. Move it up, scale it, and render it again. And there we go. Even in the current scene, there are some stuff that are simply hard to work with. Like this particular tree here is very open and hard to mask. So I can go and change it to a fuller one, or even rotate it or duplicate it. So it would be easier to work with. There might be some stuff that doesn't make much sense. For example, these small trees here are far too left and they're over the shadows they're supposed to make. So I can move it right to fix it. Or of course, you can use this opportunity to make a shadow catcher as well. Something that catches our shadows so we can use it on the video. It's not the purpose of this video. Soon I'll have a dedicated one on it. But you may need it now, so simply make all these materials white, slightly adjust the exposure to make shadows darker, render this version, and put it beneath the main layer as multiply. All is left is to mask it right, which we'll get into it in a bit. For now, I just move these trees right and render. Now, a great tip for you. One thing you may have to do is replace your renders, either at this stage if you found an issue, or later when the client requests some edits. And you may don't want to go through everything again and just replace your footage in the composition.
I'll never replace you.
For that, import your new render. Here, you can import your new mask as well. For replacing, select your new render in the project list, then select your old renders in the composition list. Then hold Alt and drag your new file to replace old ones. This way, the new render replaces the old renders with all the current attributes. Don't forget to do this for masks as well. As you can see, these areas are not included in our mask. We could have actually separated this area of the train, so for rendering the mask would have these problems, but I wanted to explore the other way of masking as well. So for that, we duplicate our video render by pressing Ctrl D.
Remove the mask and move it under the one with mask, or just remove the mask of the bottom one. Then move time indicator to the first frame. And while the video is selected, go here and choose pen tool and try to draw a mask. The mask needs to be simple. I'm just tracing through the middle of these trees, the house, and the vegetation path until I reach the end and close it. D5's mask has already taken care of our silhouette, so we only need the middle. Later, we'll need to adjust it for the video, so the simpler it is, the easier our job will be.
There we go. As you can see in this video, we simply place our model over the footage and there's no fading required, which is in all fairness much easier.
You make it so easy, don't you?
But if you happen to need to blend some parts using fading, you better try to be more careful with your mask around areas which will be going to be faded.
Let's go back to this project, for example. As you can see, I've carefully drew the mask, but the silhouette doesn't look good yet.
And now for fading, we go here
And then click on these small arrows until we reach mask property.
and increase mask feather. For good fading, a number around 100 to 300 is good. The more the fading, the better the blend. But you gotta make sure you don't fade too much.
If you're seeing too much of your render or too much of your drone footage, then it's too much.
Now let's go back to the main project. Sometimes you may face issues like this. In reality, when we rendered the scene, the tree trunk was not visible. But while rendering the mask, this happened, which hopefully D5 will someday let us get that object mask I talked about to avoid this. So again, I would ask you to vote for it in the forum.
Just vote for me.
Link again in the description. For now, to avoid that, we can use mask again, but this time we use subtract mask.
Meaning, with the top layer selected, I go here and let's choose a shape to draw this time, like circle. Now, I draw it over the trunk. After that, go to mask here and change the mask type to subtract. This way, as you can see, we remove the unwanted object. We can also increase feather for better blending, even though it may not seem necessary here. Now let's draw another mask for this trunk and also change it to subtract. Wonderful. Now let's press play to see how it works. As you can see, it's all good until the mask moves and the trunk becomes visible again. You see, all these masks we created
Was for first frame. If I play, obviously what works for the first frame may not work for the last frame as well.
This doesn't work for me.
For this, let's go to the mask properties again by pressing the arrow next to the mask. Now we can keyframe the mask path. Before that, make sure the time indicator is at the first frame. Then press on this stopwatch to create the first keyframe. Now, let's do the same for the other two masks. Next, we move the time indicator to last frame, which it appears it's faulty, so let's go to a frame before. And now, with selection tool selected, we can move the masks to create new keyframes. We can also move any of mask points to create new keyframes as well.
You may have to change location of the mask points several times in different timestamps to reach the best result. But remember, in any frame of timeline, you change the path, it creates keyframe. So watch out and always make sure if you're changing something, you're at the right place, or you will end up with a lot of keyframes here for no reason, which makes working harder.
This place is so crowded.
I noticed there is a third tree trunk I needed to hide, so I create another mask. and later adjust it based on time.
A tip: sometimes when you're trying to move point, you accidentally double-click a mask path and go to a mode that you can move entire mask and lose handle of your points individually. In these times, just double-click again. Now all the points were selected as still, just click somewhere. Now you can click on points individually again. It has happened to me a lot of times.
Now let's fix this last frame. It's really annoying. As you can see, our mask is smaller than the length of timeline, which happens with D5. A frame less or more is normal, so we drag this blue thing here until we remove the missing frame. Then right-click and choose Trim Come to Work Area. Now the missing frames are gone. And with that,
our video matching is complete, and we can go to color matching to finish the job.
We're in the end game now.
Now that I'm giving some After Effects tips, After Effects eats your RAM and your hard like piece of cake, but it doesn't dump them. Weird analogy.
That's one way to put it.
We can do a couple of things. Go here in Edit, Preference, Media, and Disk Cache, and choose some good folder with pretty ample space for using cache. Also, you may want to increase this cache size for easier playbacks. Remember this: you can go to Edit, Purge, and press All Memory and Disk Cache. This will remove the cache and actually dumps it, and it can breathe freely again.
Oh, soft cheeses, I can breathe again.
You may have to do it every time After Effects gives you a hard time, it gets slow, or won't play back no matter how much you wait. Alright, that sums up this video. Don't forget to like and ask any questions you have in the comments. See you in the next one.